Okay, we're in Galatians chapter 4 as we continue to explore the life of Abraham from the Bible. And as we scroll here to verse 4, I'll let you read this whole chapter for yourself. It says, "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, Jesus, born of woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons." Now, this is, to follow Paul's thought, this is in line with everything he's been saying in Galatians so far, and really with everything we've been learning since Genesis chapter 12, because in Genesis 12, it was the beginning of what God promised. Sort of he began to reveal his plan to Abraham and how he was going to redeem the world, right? And what Paul is saying right here is he recognizes that the fullness of time had come. It was thousands of years since God had made that promise to Abraham, and now that promise was fulfilled in Paul's day through Jesus Christ. Jesus came. He was the one that God was talking about back in Genesis 12, verses 1, 2, and especially 3, when it said that all nations of the earth would be blessed through Abraham. Apparently, this is what Paul's saying. Paul understands now that they were talking about Jesus, who was in the lineage of Abraham, that Jesus came and Jesus ended up opening up this blessing of a relationship with God for all people to have, not just for Jewish people to have, the physical descendants of Abraham. And that's what this is talking about. That fullness of time had come. Again, I'll let you read this for yourself, but as we scroll down here, he says this, "For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by a slave woman, Hagar, and one by a free woman." Now, we'll get more into that when we go back to Genesis and read that some more. He says, "But the son of the slave was born according to the flesh, while the son of the free woman was born according to the promise." Now, once again, we'll go back into Genesis in a couple of days and we'll explore that. But let me just give you a preview of what he's talking about here. When God had given this promise to Abraham, the first thing that Abraham did was take it into his own hands and have a child through his servant Hagar instead of through his wife who was barren, Sarah. And so in essence, that was Abraham trying to sort of take God's promise into his own hands. In other words, he was trying to accomplish the promise of God through works rather than just by believing in what God said. And so the child that was born, Ishmael, the child that was born through Hagar, represents trying to do it yourself. But the son of the free woman, Sarah, represents trying to do it God's way, waiting on God, trusting in his promise, and that is the son named Isaac. That's what he's talking about here. He's using this allegorically. Again, I'll let you read this for yourself, but he says at the end, "Now you brothers," he's talking to the Christians in Galatia, "are like Isaac and your children of promise." Don't be like Ishmael. Don't try to sort of earn a relationship with God by the force of your own will or your own work or trying to be obedient to the law. That was the allegory he's drawing. But he says, you are children of promise. Isaac was a child of promise. Brothers, we are not children of the slave, but of the free woman. And he's going to talk now about what this means when we turn to Galatians chapter 5 tomorrow. But you're ready now to read this chapter, journal on it, and we'll see you tomorrow for chapter 5.